Right, to continue, of course, I have been introduced by the MC. I am Azim from the London School of Economics. I'm in my third year doing accounting and finance. So on the panel, we have, firstly, of course, Puan Nurhaiza, who is the GM, the General Manager of KPJ Group. We have Mr. Shahakim, the CEO of SCOMI, and Tan Sri Lodin Kamarudin, who is the Director of Boston Holdings Berhad. The format of the session is as follows. Firstly, we will have a 30 minutes discussion between the panel and myself, and then we will have a 40 minutes Q&A. To put things into perspective, I'd like to give a brief introduction to this topic. Talking about making our market, the Malaysian market, going global, we will of course need to understand some indicators. According to the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Report, Malaysia is ranked number 25 out of 144 countries, and this is 2012. And this essentially put us at the top 20% of the number of countries surveyed. However, according to Pemandu, this is not enough. We have to step up our game, because in order to retain talent, we cannot remain at number 25. We have to go, up and beyond. So the aim of this session is that we want to learn from the panel on what is it that we can do to become more globally competitive. But of course, before that, we need to know where do we stand now. So let's begin by asking the panel, what is the current standing of their companies at the global stage? But since we have heard from Datuk Sri, former director of KPJ Healthcare, on what the company has been doing abroad, I'd like to direct the question to Mr. Shahakim. So, what role does your company play in the global arena?
Assalamualaikum, good morning everyone. Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with SCOMI, but just give you a bit of introduction. We are a relatively new company. In essence, we have two main businesses. We are an oil and gas services company on one side, and we are a public transport organization. We manufacture systems for public transport. Today, more than 80% of our revenues come from activities outside Malaysia. We employ approximately 5,000 employees, of which 800 are Malaysians. Our single largest market by number of employees and turnover is actually Indonesia, which employs 1,100 employees and a turnover in excess of 180 million US. In the two fields that we are involved in oil field services, there are really four main competitors for us in the segment that we're in. Number one is of course Schlumberger, which is the biggest, Halliburton, Baker, and then there's ourselves in that particular segment. In the public transport side, as you may be aware, we are a manufacturer of monorail systems today. And in that segment also, there are two other competitors, which are Hitachi from Japan, Bombardier, and again ourselves. We find that every time we go into tenders in the international market, the same four and the same three companies participate in the tenders in those markets. So that, in essence, in sort of a summary, is what SCOMI is today.
Thank you, Mr. Shahakim. What does your company play? Where does your company stand in the global arena?
Thank you, Azim. My dear Datuk Sri Negara, ladies and gentlemen. Boston actually is an old company established way back in the late 19th century. And in fact, at that point of time, it was very much a global company. The English traders set up operation in the then layer and carried out some import-export agency business, travel and shipping, and a little bit of plantation. Then it became a Malaysian incorporated company in the 60s, and Lembaga Tabung Angkatan Tentera the Provident Fund of the Armed Forces took over 30% controlling interest then and increased it to make it into a subsidiary holding about 80, then subsequently reducing it to about 60% in 1990. And during the early period, it was not really an exciting company. I mentioned that it was basically import-export and a bit of plantation. But when we took over in 1990, we did a lot of restructuring and transformation of the group, and we started focusing on 6 core area of business activities, namely plantation, financial services, property, trading and manufacturing, pharmaceutical, and ship and heavy industries. And when we carried out the transformation program, Malaysia was just about to suffer the problem or the issues of the 1997 economic crisis. So we had to hold back whatever restructuring and transformation program that we had for the group until the economy was able to recover. And then of course in 2004, the government decided to take a bold step in introducing some programs to restructure and transform the GLCs, the government-linked companies, to make them more transparent, to make them more to give better profit, better performance for the stakeholders, and to be more responsible in terms of undertaking corporate social responsibilities and so on. And so what we carried out earlier on as part of our own restructuring and transformation program gels very well with the program and plans of the government in wanting to make sure that government-linked companies, I think at that point of time there were about 20, including CIMB, Maybank, Mars and so on, that were considered as GLCs. And they were given over a period of time 10 books. I'm sure if you are quite familiar with them. But basically, they want to make the GLCs into global players. Global possible leader in some form, starting with regional, then moving on to maybe globally. And we are part of that, Boston and Affin. And Affin is another subsidiary of the Armed Forces Provident Fund. We also took a bold move. When I say we, is the Armed Forces Provident Fund, LTAT, when we took a different strategy in terms of our investment, from just being a mere passive investor in various types of investments. We took the bold step of becoming a more dominant, a more aggressive player in our investment undertaking. And as a result, today, Alhamdulillah, LTAT itself is not only able to give good and healthy return to the armed forces personnel about the ranks, averaging about the last 40 years about 11% or so, and the last 5-6 years about 14.7%. And I don't think that there's any other provident fund able to give such kind of return to their contributors. But Alhamdulillah, we were able to do that. We have been able to do that. And this came about because of the various programs and plans undertaken by LTAT, and which was subsequently translated down to the subsidiary of LTAT, including Boston and Affin Holdings. So with that, Boston itself is still in the progress of being transformed, and we have undertaken various plans and programs, including establishing good human capital development, focusing on innovation, and we have carried out a good investors relation program, meeting all our investors, and mainly because of how we have conducted ourselves, we have been able to attract good number of investors, not only local, but also foreign investors to invest in the group. The number has increased from about just a mere few thousand about a decade back. Now the number has increased to about 12,000. I will stop there.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Right, so now we know where we are at, and we know that there are plans to make us go further. But let us first reflect on the right things and the wrong things that we have done in order for us to think about the way ahead. Thanks. Okay, my first question with regard to this topic, in what is it that we have done right and what is it that we have done wrong? I'd like to ask Haizan, what is it that we have done right in the healthcare tourism? Because Malaysia is well on its way to become a medical tourism hub. In 2000, we had about 56,000 foreign patients, but in 2012, the number increased tenfold. In 2012, we had 580,000 foreign patients. So let's hear the story of KPJ Healthcare. What is it that we've done right, Konraila?
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to Datuk Sri and ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I want to answer our chairman for this panel in terms of healthcare tourism effort that we have done at KPJ. In the first place, before we were able to promote KPJ Healthcare to foreigners, especially if you want to get people from the Europe, from the UK, from Australia, New Zealand, we first have to benchmark ourselves where we are. You have to understand what quality and what kind of competitive advantage that you have. So we actually at KPJ Healthcare, which when we started the healthcare tourism headed by our past managing director, Datin Paduka Siti Sadia herself, first thing first, we elevate our own standards, by investing into getting ourselves being accredited. She is a person, Datin Paduka, very highly concentrated on quality of services. So, among 22 hospitals that KPJ have, currently 11 has been accredited by Malaysian Society for Quality in Health, which is a member of International Society in Quality in Health. And moving on, last year what we have done is that we get 2 of our hospitals to be accredited by JCI, another accredited body, Joint Commission International Accreditation. So this is another level that we have bring KPJ, so that when we go out and market KPJ as a healthcare service provider, we will be able to benchmark ourselves same level as other hospitals in the world. And first thing first, if we were to look back at in terms of healthcare services that we're providing, being a person of finance background, we have to look at resources that we're providing. So first thing first, we look at our doctors who are providing the services. Currently, KPJ has about 2,600 beds, in Malaysia. With that, we actually have about 900 specialists to provide the services. And to share with you, these 900 specialists are all Malaysians, And specialists, we're talking about doctors who finishes their MBBS and they move forward to do their specialization. So doctors, if you look at that in education in Malaysia, where do these doctors come from? Where were they educated? So if you look at their background, most of them are either from UK, Europe, United States and Australia, those parts of the world. So in comparison to doctors in other hospitals, be it in Singapore, in Thailand, or even in any parts of the world, we have the same level of education, the quality of the doctors that we have in Malaysia. And secondly, looking at the equipments that we have invested in our hospitals, not any different from any other hospitals in the world. We engage Siemens, we engage Toshiba, GE, so it's the same supplier of any other hospitals in the world. So by identifying our own strength and niche, we were able to actually project ourselves to promote, to foreign patients to come to Malaysia. And over and above, in comparison to Singapore, we have better costing because Malaysia are still considered cheaper than Singapore. By foreign exchange, we are 2.5 times cheaper. So for any foreign patients, they can choose. In terms of quality, you get the same level of quality of services, but you pay 2.5 times cheaper. So that is one strategy that we have for that. Again, another thing, because when we go out to promote Malaysia, most of the time, I don't know about yourself, but I myself and my colleague here, Puan Rafiqah, who does marketing, we get, where is Malaysia? Oh, sandwich between Thailand and Singapore. You know, it gets very frustrating. But again, I went to Thailand and I thought, and I see myself how the Thailand hospitals, you know, the doctors provide the services. Actually, Malaysia has better services because our doctors can speak better English than doctors in Bangkok. So by having identifying all these trends, then we started investing into, you know, all these marketing activities. We get involved with Malaysian governments, you know, like MIDA. We went out with Matrix to do all these promotions. And based on that, what I can sum up, I mean, in terms of how we're going forward, you've seen how Dr. Paduka mentioned earlier, we are building capacity. So by building capacity, we are investing in more resources and facilities so that we can bring more foreign patients. So there are some of the strategies that we have put up, and it is going to continue for the next, I can say, in KPJ, we have what we call 10 years plan, which by 2020, we are targeting to have 40 hospitals. And currently, we have 22 in running in Malaysia, and we have 6 ongoing projects, which to be completed by 2016. So from 2016 to 2020, we will have more hospitals to materialize our visions.
Okay, alright, thank you, Puan Mahesa. Moving on to the next question. Alright, before I get to the next question, I'd like to show you something. Because I want to talk about the Malaysian branding, the reputation that Malaysia has. So, when I was doing the research on this topic, I wanted to find out how can we describe the situation Malaysia was in back in 2010. So let's watch this video.
We have lost competitiveness, if you look at the figures, foreign direct investments, growth. We have lost to Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam.
Right, so that was in 2010. And 2 years later, after the implementation of the ETP, the Economic Transformation Program, we see this. We have seen a modest improvement in our global index. Ease of doing business, global peace, world competitiveness. We've done pretty good in these areas. So, recently, the PM was in Davos trying to promote Malaysia.
Good morning, Adam. Good morning to all our viewers early in America. Look, this is a democracy. It's got a very active and established stock market in Kuala Lumpur. However, it's still considered an emerging market, having to make some very tough decisions, but it is implicitly really focused on getting foreign investment. Can Malaysia lure your money, your business, your dollars? We are joined now by the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Najib Razak. Thank you very much for joining us. We showed a video of these huge banners and billboards, Malaysia, promoting the country. Why is it so important? I mean, you're really investing a lot here this year. I haven't seen it necessarily this strong before. Why not?
Because we have a good story to tell. And it's not based on a price. It's actually on the back of what we've done in the last 4 years. We've produced results, tangible results. So the key message is that real change and real progress is taking place in Malaysia.
Right. So, my question is for Mr. Shakib. From your perspective as a CEO of a multinational, do you think that international confidence in the Malaysian brand has restored from the state it was in 2010, as revealed by Dr. Jamal Karim?
I think the government is really the backbone in a lot of businesses going international. It is with government support, the government encouragement that a lot of local national companies like ourselves starts venturing overseas. And this encouragement really allows us to broaden our growth strategies and so on. Now, the support that government gives is just not in the form of encouragement, going out and marketing. The support really comes from how they globalize the local economy. And globalizing the local economy is the first steps towards allowing companies going out. When I mean globalizing the local economy is the fact that the biggest thing in allowing a company going international is nurturing talent. Okay? Without a proper system that encourages the development of talent, either through education systems, either through sending students overseas, either through local programs to grow talent, it makes it very, very difficult for local companies to go out internationally. It's not just about having a strategy and having a product, but it's about having the right talent to support your growth. And really, at the core of that whole government transformation plan, which in fact did not just start during Prime Minister Najib's time, it started during Tun Mahathir's time, of making sure that we had this consistent talent pipeline coming through that allowed the companies to grow internationally. So yes, we've seen a huge amount of push internationally, we've seen a huge amount of opportunities created for Malaysian companies. And in fact, a whole bunch of Malaysian companies were invited with the Prime Minister to go to Davos and help the government, the Prime Minister market the country as an investment destination, and also help the companies market themselves for business in a third country. Okay, so the government has done a lot in the last 3 years to transform industry.
Okay, all right. Next question is for Tan Sri. This is regarding corporate governance. So on one hand, Malaysia has made tremendous improvement in the global index, as shown in the slide we discussed before. But on the other hand, recently, the Transparency International revealed this. Nation tops bribery table when it comes to doing business. And this went viral on social media. I think thousands of you shared this. They didn't share this one, but they shared this. But here we'd like to hear from one of the leaders of Malaysia's top GLCs. Do you think this claim by Transparency International is true, from your experience?
Azim, I don't know where they get their facts from. I can only speak on behalf of the GLCs. As I mentioned to you earlier, I think the government has put in a lot of effort and money to transform the various GLCs. As I said, in 2004 there were 20, there's now I think 18, including Bastard and Affin. And they have done a lot of things to improve the management, right from the board level, right to the operation and procurement and CSR and so on. And I think they have accomplished a lot. For our group, I can only speak for our two groups, Affin and Bastard. We have done a lot to change, to transform the culture of the people in these two groups. They employ a total of about 12,000 people with revenue exceeding 10 billion ringgit. And I think Alhamdulillah so far, I'm not saying that there is no unhealthy practices, but I think we have minimized these practices very much since the last 10 years or so. And we have, for example, at the board level, we have in the case of Bastard and Affin, we have brought in more independent directors than the non-independent directors. And we have got a good balance between professionals, retired senior civil servants, corporate people, and so on. And we follow closely the guidelines in terms of listing requirement as determined by the Securities Commission, by BUSA. We make appropriate disclosures to BUSA on whatever new projects or assets that we acquire. And I think this is also true of all the other GLCs and the GLIC, the Government Linked Investment Corporation in our country. I think a lot has been put in by the management, by the board of the GLICs and the GLCs to make sure that at least at the GLCs level, the companies, the organizations are being managed well. And in addition to that, I'm a member, in fact I was instrumental in one of the pioneer members in setting up the Minority Shareholders Watchdog group, MWSG. And they are very active, led by Rita Bonner presently, and they do look at issues regarding any public companies, public listed companies which require their attention in terms of M&As, acquisition, and so on and so forth. And being a member, I'm also feel very much committed to ensuring that whatever organization or whatever companies that I'm involved with must follow closely governance requirement. Yeah? And this involves, for example, procurement. We have one of the sector I mentioned earlier. We have interest, substantial interest in Pharmaniaga, the biggest pharmaceutical company in our country today. And we have gone to the extent of employing, or not employing, but getting on a seconded basis a very senior person from the MACC to be with us on a full-time basis. So he's there to give advice and guidance in terms of whatever operation and procurement policies that we conduct in our company. So much so that whenever we have people, some may be politicians, some may not be politicians, who come to us or ask for favors or business, he's always there to monitor, and it's all done in a very transparent way, and it's reported to the board. And he, of course, he doesn't have to report our board, he reports to the MACC boss. So this is one step towards ensuring that at least as far as the GLC is concerned, at least as far as our group is concerned, we will try to be as transparent as possible and to practice good corporate governance at every level of our operation. That's the reason why I believe that for the last 7-8 years, we have been able to increase the number of shareholders of the group, of Bastard Group, from 2,000 to about 12,000, including such people as the Calcos. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Anshri. So we've heard that the MACC monitors the GLCs. I guess it's very important for us to hear both sides of the story. Right, so that will be the end of my questions. I would like to open the session to Q&A. So anybody who would like to ask, please come. Do we have a mic? You don't have a mic? Actually, I think you can just shout from where you are standing. Oh, okay. There will be a floating mic. Is it going to be my mic?
Anybody who wants to ask? Okay, can you please come forward? To anybody who wants to ask a question, can you please introduce yourself? Your name, your uni, your course?
Sure. Assalamualaikum. My name is Arif Azli, second year mechanical engineering from UCL. My question is to Puan from the representative from KPJ. Looking at the model from Germany, UK and US, they are highly dependent on foreign immigrant, foreign talent to go inside their medical institution. So my question is, how open Malaysia is to accept foreign talent in order for us to be like Singapore or maybe in the United States, where they accept the foreign talents from Bangladesh, India, etc. In their medical institution. So thank you.
Your name is not, sorry? Arif. Yeah, you are referring to the doctors or the non-clinical professions?
Medical.
Medical, okay. Actually, in Malaysia, for medical doctors to practice, you need to get a license from MNC. So actually, in comparison to countries like Thailand and Indonesia, we are much more liberal than those two countries. So actually, we allow people from overseas to come and practice in Malaysia. But of course, having said that, like I said earlier, we currently have 900 doctors and all are Malaysians, and we open priority to Malaysians. And what we have done last year, Datin Paduka came here with Talent Corp. We actually, came and talked to Malaysians in UK, Ireland, and my colleague actually went to Taiwan and Australia to bring back Malaysian expatriates. I know I'm in that sense that I may not be answering Arif's questions, but what I'm going to say is that we open to any foreigners who wants to practice in Malaysia, but our priority is still Malaysians who works overseas. Okay, Arif, did I answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Right, next
Thank
question.
you, Fernando. Anybody?
Not yet.
There was a lot of talk about health tourism, and I'd like to know what the balance is between ensuring that all the citizens of Malaysia are getting adequate health treatment, speaking particularly in East Malaysia, where large elements of the population do not receive adequate health treatment, whether health tourism should be such a government-backed priority.
One tough question to answer. Okay, to start off, actually, let me, for the benefit of yourself, in Malaysia there are actually two types of healthcare services. There's one public healthcare services and the other one is the private healthcare services. And of course the public healthcare services are fully subsidized by the government and it's open to any public, be it Malaysians and non-Malaysians as well, foreigners who reside in Malaysia. And as for the private healthcare, the one that KPJ are operating, we serve for those who have premiums, insurance premiums, as well as those who work under corporate sectors and MNCs that they come with medical benefit, as well as those who can afford. But of course, you are referring to East Malaysia, where KPJ also have presence there. Currently, we have 4 hospitals, which located in Kota Kinabalu 2. We have 1 in Cebu and 1 in Kuching. And yes, this is not enough because apart from having private healthcare, it is not still within reachable of those East Malaysia. So what we are doing now, we are actually trying to connect from one town to another, especially in Sarawak, where you can get in Kuching, Miri, Cebu, then move on to Kota Kinabalu and Kudat and Tawau. So these are some what KPJ is doing, and we're looking at a model of hospitals that could actually complement the lacking in terms of public healthcare. We're providing cheaper services, which will be affordable to the less needy as well as those who can afford. And over and above, I think just to share and add on, KPJ actually has another corporate social responsibility and arm where we open, which we call in Malaysia Klinik Wakaf An-Nur. Currently we have 18 clinics in Malaysia, inclusive in East Malaysia, where the public will come to the clinic and they only pay 5 ringgit and they will be treated by medical officers and get the necessary drugs and pharmaceutical items which they needed. So that is an effort from KPJ Healthcare as a corporate healthcare provider. I hope that answers some of your concerns.
It's some great aspirations there.
Thank you.
Next question.
Sorry, can I add to that? I'm obviously I'm a customer of KPJ Healthcare, and I must say my children were all born in the KPJ hospitals. They have great doctors, especially in Damansara. But I must say also my parents who are older, my in-laws and all, who are, some of them are ex-government officials. The government hospitals in Malaysia, and I can't say it is widely distributed across the country, especially in Sabah and Sarawak, which I may not be as familiar. In Semenanjung, Malaysia, I have myself been to some of these government hospitals, and I can say for a fact that the equipment available and the level of doctors available in these hospitals, equipment especially, are far more superior than what you find in KPJ. Okay. Last week, my mother, in fact, instead of having her cataract operations done in KPJ, which I would have funded happily, went to a government hospital because they had the latest equipment, which was a non-invasive laser treatment, and came out well. So in terms of government spending, again, I must stand corrected. It's not widely distributed. Obviously, the main centers of the cities maybe get better facilities, but there seems to be a lot of government spending in healthcare for the latest equipment and bringing in talent also.
Just to add, my sister was also a TPD healthcare patient, and she loves it because she said the doctors were very hospitable. Right, next question please.
Hello and good morning. My name is Azli. I'm working. I've already graduated, and now I'm working in South STS in Italy, and engaging in transportation solution business. So I guess that brings my question to Mr. Shahid from Scovi Group. When I googled Malaysian transportation solution, and then Scovi Group came out, I felt very, very proud because a Malaysian company engaging in this very big business. Because, as you know, for example, in building a metro system of trains, a 10 kilometers metro could bring a very big money to the country. A 10 kilometer metro could bring probably 150 million euros to Malaysia. So anyway, it's not an easy thing because, as you said, you have competitors Bombardier, Hitachi, and also the French Thales, Siemens, and so on, GE as well. So in these countries, for example, there's also Sistra from France, which grows from the local market, where the government gave them tenders locally, and then they grow internationally, and then now they become the consultants of other countries. And then, for example, in newer countries like Turkey, they have Coach or something, and they have offset agreements with the Western companies, more mature companies such as Thales, Siemens, and so on. So I would just like to understand what is the strategy of SCOMI? Now that you are, you said you're already global, but I just want to understand what is your scale of global, because all these European companies, they have been operating since, I don't know, maybe 100 years, and they have a lot of expertise. Well, I think the Malaysian companies is relatively very new, this business. So how do you acquire the expertise in this field? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It is a very difficult business, public transport, primarily for two reasons. You've got very large competitors that are very established, and you've got an industry that's which has very high standards in terms of safety record. Okay, it's public transport, so you need to make sure that safety is up there as priority. So for new companies, there are difficulties in getting into a very established industry with huge trade barriers. With huge barriers which are primarily the established players, and also the fact that investment in R&D and development is quite high. However, the world is changing, okay, and it is new companies like ours are allowed to exist and allowed to compete in the market because of the ability of innovating. And the technology in these days allows you to innovate very quickly and allows you to innovate in such a way that allows you to leapfrog as opposed to going through the standard learning processes of the traditional businesses. Okay, Siemens today or Alstom today started building trains 100 years ago, and when they build trains based on a certain process, a certain knowledge gathering methodology, and with that they carry a certain level of baggage. Okay, we came into the market and looked at building monorails from a totally different perspective. Okay, and it's with this totally different perspective that allowed us to leapfrog, and today be considered the major 3 monorail manufacturers around the world. Obviously, in terms of product, plus minus, we're not too far, behind, or maybe in some areas we are ahead of them. But it is the availability of technology that allows us to leapfrog. Now, in going forward, in getting into this market, if we had followed the way Siemens or Alstom or Bombardier developed their product, we will always be playing catch up. Okay, so we took a totally different approach, which allowed us to leapfrog, and it is from there that allows us to be competitive. Going the next level, we need to continue to get government support in marketing, in R&D expenditure, and so on, and that would allow us to have that competitiveness. European companies, Asian and European companies in the end do have different challenges, and it is with this market environment like today in Europe, where they are facing a financial crisis, allows Malaysia companies like ourselves to come in and acquire knowledge and acquire people that used to work for these companies to come and help us in developing the product. So our strategy in going to market is always remaining frugal, being innovative, and hopefully the market continues to require a public transport system. I hope that answers your question.
I'd just like to say that for us to be global players, I think we need to have niche products or services, and this is what we are working on. There are 3 areas in particular that we want to focus on. One is the Islamic banking. This is one area where you know that there are not many countries in the world today which can offer Islamic banking products and services. So we at Affin Holdings, we try to promote this not only within the country, but we are trying to venture abroad into places like China, into the region, Vietnam, Indonesia, and so on and so forth. And for this, we have struck an alliance, strategic alliances with our partner, Bank of East Asia. Bank of East Asia is one of the biggest private banking group operating in China. I think there are about 100 branches in that country. And there are 60, I was told, at least 60 million Muslims in China. So if we could only penetrate that market, then I think we can be quite a significant player in terms of offering Islamic banking products and services in that part of the world. Secondly is on we have a pharmaceutical company, Pharmaniaga, public listed. Again, doing the conventional drugs, I think is quite, I wouldn't say easy, but we are quite strong in that. But going into drugs which are considered as halal, and also the herb-based drugs, this is also a new area where we believe that there's tremendous potential for a group like us, not only to offer to the region, but also outside the region to places like China and particularly the Middle East. And so if we do strategic alliance with certain principals or certain partners, I think we would have that competitive edge to take on some of the more established players globally. And we also have interest, for example, in shipbuilding. The government has provided all kinds of support to establish a good, healthy shipbuilding industries in our country, be it for the government or or the private sector. We own 3 shipyards in Malaysia: Lumut, Penang, and Langkawi. We build fast boat, again in strategic alliance with the Turkish group. We build fast boat for the Coast Guard that can take you up to 65 knots per hour. We build offshore petrol vessels, never heard of before. But again, this is going into strategic alliance with principals from Germany, from France, and so on. And we have been able, we completed 6 offshore petrol vessels. And the last one was delivered about 2 years back. And recently the government awarded us another contract to build 6, what they call the littoral combat ships for the Malaysian Navy. So these are opportunities which local company like us, Boston, can take advantage of with appropriate government support and assistance. Inshallah, I think some of the, not only the GLCs but also the local companies can be a successful global player in time to come.
Just to share, actually, remember that Dr. mentioned that the market cap of KPJ Berhad is about 3.5 billion. I myself do investors relations, so I just want to share with you that the 3.5 billion, currently KPJ doesn't own the hospitals and the land because it is actually being rented out. We actually sell it to Al-Akari and we rented it. So the 3.5 billion is just purely a management company. So our assets is our people. So what we have done in terms of getting the recognition of globalizing KPJ Berhad is that we train our own people. You know, when we started 30 years ago, we don't know how to run hospitals. And you've seen hospitals usually being run by doctors. But in KPJ, our hospitals are being administered and run by purely business professionals, not the doctors. How we did it? We set up our own education program. We send our people to the UK. You know, we had programs with Hanley Business School where we actually send our people. And to date, we actually have about 50 general managers and CEOs. And just to share with you, in 2012, we had countries like Laos, Bangladesh, and Thailand came to us to ask for us to provide management services in terms of hospital management. So that itself has proven, you know, that for you to get recognitions, you really have to train your people. You know, you have to build your own resources. And even last year we had some, which I call disadvantage, because we had IHH came on board. Because in the past it was KPJ Healthcare Berhad was the only listed healthcare service provider in Malaysia. But when IHH came, they don't have people. So we lost quite a number of our managers. But thank God, we have been training. So training our people, so we don't have any issues. And even when those countries came and asked for us to provide management services, there was no hesitation, you know. We just go and this is our people, the CEOs, the CFOs, and the CNOs that we can provide. So that is, you know, what we have done in terms of globalizing the services.
Right, thank you for Marizan. You have a question?
Can I just add something?
Yeah, sure. He wants to add.
Well, just to add to what Tansi and Sahakim has mentioned in the temperature. Currently, we are working very hard in trying to double the trade between the two countries. During the last visit, the Prime Minister David Cameron to Malaysia in April last year, the two Prime Ministers agreed to double current trade between the two countries. And already even before the announcement of the doubling of trade, there have been a lot of Malaysian companies that has been so big, and they can't even get a lot more opportunities in Malaysia, but they can see the opportunities abroad. And they are coming bigly in all areas, in manufacturing, in property market, as well as in the hospitality market. In fact, this hotel here is owned by Malaysians. Thistle Hotel is owned by Malaysians now. And there are so many other hotels. I was up there in Edinburgh just 2 weeks ago for the opening of the the Tune Hotel. And Malaysian had been very much involved in property market, PNB, EPF, and you're probably aware that representatives of Malaysian companies had decided to develop the Battersea Power Station, investing some 8 billion pounds to be spread over some 15 years or so. And when they opened up recently, the sale was launched. I think some 70 to 75% of the properties were snapped up in no time. So these are the kind of involvement of Malaysia in this country. Some even involved in the petrochemical industry, like SCOMI have been involved in the oil and gas as well as transportation, KPG. And we are looking forward, in fact, for more Malaysians to come and invest in this country. And I think this is a win-win situation, although a lot of people are not quite happy to see a lot of money coming out of the country. But when you are global players, you have to open up your shores at the same time participate in the country. I just want to put what Prime Minister Cameron mentioned at the virtual meeting. He said that just come and grab whatever you like in this country, so long that you will take the company out of this country. You probably know Lotus, for example, is Malaysian owned, and the government was quite concerned initially when there was this change of ownership, that they were planning to take Lotus out of the country. So they are willing that whoever the owner to develop Lotus, but to take it out of the country and iconic British brand. I think it's not quite, they can't really accept it with open mind. So this is the kind of opportunities, and I hope a lot of Malaysian companies will come in with me. And recently, I was invited as witness to many signing ceremonies involving a lot of Malaysian. Even one of them is going to start a telephone company like Negara and Leica. They are going to start something soon, and many other corporations in the areas of aeronautical engineering, aeronautical industry, which is very encouraging indeed. So this is only what I wanted to add to all the response from the panelists. Thank you.
Right, thank you, DYT. Okay, we are left with 3 minutes, and I would like to, sorry, we are left with 3 minutes. So I guess it's best that we try to sum up, try to think about what we can get out of this discussion. Now, first of all, we've talked about the things that we have done right and what we have done wrong. I think it's important to reflect in order to know where we stand and talk about how we can move forward. And of course, we also touch on 2 issues in which we should pay particular attention to. Number one is the Malaysian branding. So we see that there has been a lot of effort to improve the Malaysian image on the global market, in order to facilitate our local companies to do business abroad. And of course, secondly, we've talked about governance, because of course, in international trade, in order to ensure that investors are confident, we need to have good corporate governance. Otherwise, they will not be interested in investing in our country. And we've heard Tan Sri explaining his side of the story, that we have MACC monitoring GLCs. So I hope that sedikit sebanyak answered our pressing question with regard to the corruption issue in Malaysia. Alright, and then finally, Tasri also pointed out several ways in which we could be more globally competitive. And to sum up, we have known where we stand and what we are doing, and hopefully by 2020 we will be a global player. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to Tan Sri, Puan Haida, and also Mr. Chan.